A Florida Republican says the state's abortion ban threatened her life, but she blames the left. My name is Brittany Page, and this is the Page Perspective. On this day, 3 years ago, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in the case of Dobbs v. Jackson, ending the constitutional right to an abortion, creating a patchwork of laws across the country with abortion being banned in 41 states. And as you can see here from the Guttmacher Institute, 13 states have total abortion bans, 28 states have abortion bans based on gestational duration, including 7 states that ban abortion at or before 18 weeks gestation, and 21 states that ban abortion at some point after 18 weeks. And it's interesting, isn't it, that men's right to bodily autonomy is uniform across states, while women's right to bodily autonomy depends on their physical location in the United States. And in Florida, there's a ban on abortion after 6 weeks gestation, a ban that should be read as essentially a total ban, given the very small window of time where most women may not even realize they're pregnant before the point at which they are banned from obtaining an abortion, should they want one. And before we get to this Republican lawmaker who blames the left for abortion bans in her state that put her life in danger, you may notice that there is a fundraiser on this video. Every year, Jesse Dollemore and I host a joint fundraiser for abortion funds during the month of June in recognition of the ongoing need to support abortion funds in the aftermath of the Republican assault on fundamental reproductive rights and freedom in this country. This year, we're supporting the National Network of Abortion Funds. This is a network of nearly 100 independent abortion funds that work together to address financial and logistical barriers that now exist across the country because of these abortion bans. Abortion funds are critical tools that provide support to those seeking abortions, whether they need counseling about the laws in their state to fully understand their options based on facts and evidence, or they need financial assistance for a plane ticket or a hotel stay or covering the procedure itself. The National Network of Abortion Funds supports independent abortion funds doing this critical work across the country. And now you can support them while they do it by donating right here on this video. Last year, we raised nearly $23,000 for abortion funds right here on YouTube. This year, I think we can beat it and ensure women across the country who are facing fear and uncertainty continue to have options in the face of these cruel and inhumane policies. If you can, we would appreciate your contribution. And listen, if you can't, if you're on a fixed income, if you're unhoused, if you are experiencing any sort of financial hardship, please do not worry about donating. Simply sharing this fundraiser with your community is a donation as well. Now to Republican Representative Cammack, who, as reported by the Wall Street Journal this week, faced a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy around 6 weeks gestation, the point at which abortion is banned in Florida. Representative Cammack is anti-abortion. She tells a story of her mother nearly aborting her as kind of a foundation for her anti-abortion views, and she co-chairs the House Pro-Life Caucus, which should just be called the Anti-Abortion Caucus. She's a true believer. So in May 2024, when she found herself in a tragic and horrible situation that no one should have to endure, she found herself in the emergency room, learning that her pregnancy could kill her if action was not taken to end it, and learning also that doctors were afraid to take this action to save her life because of the state's abortion ban. She did not blame her party. She did not blame the anti-abortion movement. She did not blame Florida's strict abortion ban. No, as you see there, quote, Cammack says the left scared medical professionals last year by stressing that they could face criminal charges for violating the law. The left scared medical professionals. You know, she must have missed the headlines from a couple months ago when a New York doctor was charged in Louisiana and fined in Texas for prescribing abortion pills. Is the left scaring that doctor too? You know, Louisiana, where the abortion medications misoprostol and mifepristone are now classified as Schedule IV controlled substances. Is that the left scaring medical professionals, or Republicans taking radical action to ensure women cannot control the outcome of their lives? Let's read from the Wall Street Journal about Representative Kat Cammack's case. Quote, the Florida Republican needed a shot of methotrexate to help expel her ectopic pregnancy, in which there is no way for the embryo to survive. Her state's 6-week abortion ban had just taken effect. She said doctors and nurses who saw her said they were worried about losing their licenses or going to jail if they gave her drugs to end her pregnancy. She began arguing her case. The staff resisted, she said, even though doctors earlier that day estimated she was just 5 weeks pregnant. There was no heartbeat, and her life was at risk. She pulled up the state law on her phone for hospital workers to read. She said she called the governor's office late at night for help, but no one picked up. Hours later, doctors finally agreed to give her the methotrexate, Kamik said. You have to wonder what happens to women who aren't elected officials, who can't pick up the phone and call the governor's office. And to her credit, Representative Cammack acknowledged this, as described later in the article, when she asks, what happens to women who don't have a car, who don't have a doctor? And now that she's pregnant again, this experience has stayed with her and she wants to share her story. But she's sending all the wrong messages about why this happened to her. And we know that not just from the headlines I just read to you, but also because of the experts quoted in this reporting. Quote, Cammack doesn't fault the Florida law for her experience. Instead, she accuses the left of scaring medical professionals with messaging that stressed that they could face criminal charges for violating the law. She said she feels those efforts gave medical staff reason to fear giving drugs, even under legal circumstances. Abortion rights activists say the law created the problems. While Florida regulators say ectopic pregnancies aren't abortions and are exempt from restrictions, the law doesn't define ectopic pregnancy. And it isn't always easy for doctors to tell where an embryo has implanted, said Molly Duane, a senior attorney at the Center for Reproductive Rights. Asked whether abortion rights groups contributed to confusion, Duane said Florida regulators had stressed how seriously they planned to enforce the ban. She said blaming medical workers echoes the, quote, playbook of anti-abortion extremists that for decades have been blaming and villainizing doctors. Exactly. And it's easy to be faced with the reality of what your views have done, what the policies you supported have done, how the policies you support directly put women and their lives at risk. It's easy to face that and say, no. Couldn't be my fault. This is the left and their scare tactics. Quote, Dr. Allison Haddock, president of the American College of Emergency Physicians, said it is common for doctors in states that have restricted abortion access to worry, quote, whether their clinical judgment will stand should there be any prosecution. She called early pregnancy care, including instances of ectopic pregnancies, a, quote, medically complicated space where uncertainty in diagnoses and treatment plans is common, quote. This has been a real stress point for a lot of our physicians, she said. And this is what happens when politicians get in the way of medicine, science. For a movement based on fear-mongering, it's rich to hear Republicans now attack the left for fear-mongering on this issue, especially when we can see the reality of what's happening all around us. Kamik is due in mid-August, and I wish her all the best with her pregnancy and her birth. I'm happy that she is able to dictate what she wants for her life, to have a child if that's what she wants for her life. I just wish that she would extend this freedom to everyone. And even though this life-threatening ectopic pregnancy appears to have engendered greater empathy for those without her resources, she still doesn't appear to have caught on completely, because it's quite notable how At the end of this article, they note that she's due in mid-August and that although there was a recent proposal from 2 representatives who recently gave birth to their own children to allow remote voting in the weeks after birth, Cammack is opposed, saying, quote, "A lot of moms have to be right back at work," she said. "I knew what I signed up for when I got elected." And this really sums up so much of the problem with people in power. I mean, you have the ability to change that, to support paid family leave, paid childcare, reproductive freedom. And even with an experience like this, she isn't catching on. So I genuinely wish her the best. I wish her family the best. I wish her the best and healthiest birthing experience. I also wish she would fight for others to have the same. What do you think? Call and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail at 202-656-1509 or send an email to info@thepageperspective.com. That's right. A new official email with a new official website to come. This is normally where I would tell you where you can support my work, but instead of doing that, I will ask you to please support our fundraiser for the National Network of Abortion Funds. As we reflect on the pain and suffering caused by these abortion bans, it is so important that we realize we still have the power to fight back and ensure those who need it most have the support they need. I appreciate your consideration. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.